Perfect. Thank you all for being here. My name is Brittany Hernandez. I am your host for this lightning talk. I am a lawyer and the founder of Cor Meum Law and Cor Meum LLC, both of which focus on how innovations in tech can be used to solve human problems, both within the law and beyond. I'm also a freelance pro documenter with Gig Law, a document advisor and tutor, and I was recently invited to represent Document around the world as their global ambassador to law schools. Today, Justice Entrepreneur and A2J Tech's COO, Mauricio Duarte, will share his expertise on the topic of no-code legal tech. This is a very timely topic as the first ever no-code summit is taking place right now in Paris, where the founders and CEOs of companies like Software, Bubble, Make, and more are talking about the software democratization movement and the no-code revolution. Feel free to post your questions in the chat as you think of them, and Mauricio will pick them up once he concludes. After questions, I will do a quick wrap up, after which you're free to stay on for the call for an optional 5 minutes of speed networking, where I'll invite a few people to introduce themselves for 1 minute each. I'd now like to introduce today's speaker. Mauricio Duarte is a lawyer from Guatemala with an LLM from St. Thomas University. He worked for 5 years in international arbitration before devoting himself to technology and legal innovation. He is a justice entrepreneur and the COO of A2J Tech, a company that builds legal tech solutions to improve access to justice. He is also an of-counsel partner of Legal Plus, a law firm focused on advising technology entrepreneurs and technology companies. He's a fellow at Clearos, a blockchain-based startup, a member of the Silicon Valley Arbitration and Mediation Center Steering Committee, and a member of the Asian International Arbitration Center Technology Expert Committee. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mauricio. The floor is now yours.
Perfect. And thank you, Brittany, and thank you to the Document team for having me and having this, let's say, chat about a, topic that I found really interesting and passionate. And the reason why I always have found this topic really interesting, I think is not necessarily the best example, but I was taught when I was in law firms and in law school, that in order to be successful in the legal space, you needed to work for a law firm, let's say, your entire life. That was the basis that I was brought up on. That was the premise. And even when I started getting interested on technology and innovation, I was always told you have to learn how to code in order to be successful on the technology space. Regardless if it's the legal tech space, I always, was under the impression, because let's say partners or some other colleagues mentioned, you need to learn how to code. However, after, let's say, 5 years on being in the legal tech space, I have found that that couldn't be farther from the truth. And sometimes people start with the premise that you need to learn how to code, sometimes because they don't know about the new technologies that are up and coming and exist on the industry. So today we're gonna be talking about no code. And as I lay some of the context, probably some of you have heard no code either as a hashtag, probably follow some of the Document social media posts or some of our A2J Tech posts, or you follow other individuals around the technology industry. Again, no code is not only for the legal tech space or the health tech or the fintech industry, but actually no code is applicable to any industry. So what allows, let's say, no code, and you probably have seen it on the mainstream media, a bunch of articles. I think one of the most interesting articles that I read was recently in TechCrunch, and it's actually the one that I have here on the left, that is no-code platforms, why they are here and why they matter. And it gives a good insight, and it talks to different venture capitalists and investors about why no-code is basically the future of development of successful startups, successful services and products. And why is that? It's because many individuals like myself or some other members on the call, we usually want to start projects. We have creative or innovative ideas, but we have a limited budget. And usually that's one of the biggest obstacles to be entrepreneurial, to start your own project, to start your own path, is because, hey, we don't have the budget, we don't have enough funding at this stage to develop something. But what is happening with no code is that it's allowing you to quickly prototype, iterate a product or a solution, quickly test the market, get user feedback, and based on that, assess if you're in the correct path. You should pivot, or you should just, let's say, find a different approach to your project. a quick story about this is I was reading recently an article about the Figma acquisition. And many of you probably have used Figma to design websites or potential apps. And if you haven't heard, Figma was recently acquired by Adobe in an acquisition of around $20 billion. And the story of Figma was pretty interesting because they, on their story, they had 5 years in which they didn't have any revenue. For the first 5 years of existence of Figma, they didn't have any revenue. Everything was at a loss. It was just research and development, prototyping a beta, having users testing that. And that was before the actual no-code revolution. So now we are entering into a stage, taking Figma as an example, that you can prototype something with very limited resources without breaking the bank, without going for any type of venture capital financing or even seed financing that everyone says Series A, Series B, Series C, that's needed to have a successful startup or a successful idea. But actually, when you take a look at how the dynamic works, funding is just a tool to scale up a successful startup. Funding is not necessarily the objective that many startups should strive for. And I also advise to take venture capital and startups or their funding rounds. So I see both sides of the coin. So that's why I have learned that no code has a lot of potential. Why? Because it's empowering users to actually create their own solutions, products, services on a digital world without needing to go and break the bank or having that excuse that let's say that was an excuse that I had 5-6 years back, and in which I said I couldn't start any type of legal tech or even tech project because I don't know how to code. So the expectations for no code, again, it's because it's empowering the users to quickly create digital solutions without knowing any technical aspects of code. You don't need to know JavaScript. You don't need to know PHP, any of the programming languages that you probably know they're out there, Python and so on. You don't need to know them. Now, if you know them, probably you're going to be able to create some additional components or features within certain no-code tools, but it's expected that no-code tools are going to be generating revenue of around 187 billion by 2024. And right now, there are approximately at 124 billion in revenue. This is basically based on the last TechCrunch article that I was just mentioning. And also in that article, they mentioned that now no-code tools, again, those applications that are going to allow you to create your own solutions without knowing the ins and outs of programming or computer science, it's going to account for 60% of all application development going forward in the market. Right now, it accounts of around 40%. So by 2024, it's going to be more than half of the startups and the products that you're going to see are going to be no-code solutions. Why? Because they have the main objective of empowering the end user to do certain things without having that technical background or technical knowledge. Now, does that mean that no code is the save all and be all for everyone? No. Let's say there are going to be specific startups or specific projects or ideas that you might have that will need having your own custom program solution. However, there are other projects that before even crossing that bridge, you might want to iterate, prototype, and test your solution. And I like this quote about one venture capitalist that does a lot of interesting investments on the SaaS space or software as a service space. And she basically said, I'm not going to read the entire quote because it would be boring, but basically in just a summarized version, what she said is, look, no code is not only for non-technical developers or someone that doesn't have the experience, but actually technical members of the development teams can actually use no code tools as well. So let's think of, I'm going to mention some of the tools that we use for some of the projects that we have created on A2J Tech. But we use, for instance, Tango US. Tango US is a great little tool that helps with documenting processes and documenting how to use a platform. And I'm going to show you how that looks. And I think that's one of the best no-code solutions that I've seen. Instead of sitting down and drafting step one, go to this account, enter the login. I can only with a few clicks, automatically generate the documentation of how a system works. So there are many tools, many different aspects, databases, document automation, obviously with document. So you have a vast number of options, web apps creation, website development. So if we go back to, let's say, the basics, what has happened is that no code has really existed from the beginning. The reality is that we never framed it as no code. So every interaction that we have with a computer that is in a simple interface at the end becomes a no code approach, meaning when we use Microsoft Word, we use a computer. The back end, we know that our zeros and ones. But from a perspective, we don't need to know the zeros and ones and what's happening, the byte size or anything like that. We just play around with our computers, even going to the Windows 98, I think was the first actual computer that I used. I don't even remember. But we have, let's say, from the beginning, even from the inception of some of the basic computers, no code has ever existed. Now it has been framed as something differently because no code has grown to this exponential capability. And some of you might know this, but Moore law is a law that is very mentioned in the tech space that basically states that the computational power grows exponentially every single year. So for instance, if right now we're at 20, let's say 20%, next year we're going to be at 40. Probably the year after that, we're going to be at 80% of our increase in computational power. That means more innovation, more solutions in the market. So I would say the best example of when the no-code idea started to come across was with WordPress. And probably some of you have played with WordPress in the past or have someone that uses a WordPress site. They develop their own quick little website with WordPress with some plugins. And that was one of the first real iterations on what is no-code, meaning you can build solutions from scratch without needing a technical background or a technical component. I built my own WordPress sites back in the day. I was interested in that. Now there are better solutions in the market, in my opinion, than WordPress, but there's so many successful platforms and projects that still use WordPress. But now, I would say after 2017 is when actually the no-code trend started to gain more traction, which takes us basically to 2022 right now, in which basically the no-code revolution, as some call it, is basically something that you're going to see on every single tech discussion or tech article is going to mention about the future of no-code. So there are many successful, let's say, companies that have developed no-code solutions. A few of them that we use on projects that I'm going to mention right now are Webflow, Airtable, and Bubble. For instance, for Bubble, you can create web apps. It's not only creating websites, but it's creating comprehensive web apps. So if you need, for instance, a sign-up page with a login portal, and you need a specific database to show your clients, you can build that on Bubble. Now, there are certain platforms in the no-code space that are going to be a bit more complex to use than others. For instance, one little tool that we love at A2J Tech, and I think one of the, let's say, fanatics #1 of Airtable, because I always use it for any single project that I have. Airtable basically is a database, but on top of that, you can build a lot of things. Even, for instance, Lorna might know this, but we have even built integrations with Airtable and Document, passing data from documenting to Airtable. So Airtable is a very robust solution that is not only a spreadsheet or is not only a database, but you can actually build a lot of things as a, let's say, we call it as a backend system. You can even integrate with websites. You can have content management from your website using Airtable. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. And Webflow that as well allows you to build very intuitive and friendly websites. But again, it has some level of complexity attached to it. And I'm going to discuss a bit about how to make a decision on no-code tools. So again, all of this that I've said is only call to action to basically start using or exploring, if you haven't done it so far, to start using no-code, because it's going to allow you to build, iterate, and experiment with solutions, prototypes, and ideas. Again, that notion of to have an MVP, you need to have substantial amount of funding, or you need a technical partner. On some projects, it's needed in some other projects, you can test it on your own. I have failed plenty of times building small things with no code, in which I said, no, you know what, actually, this is not a good direction. Just scratch it and move on to the next. But it took me 2 or 3 hours to quickly iterate something, see if it would work, even get some feedback from a prospective user. And they said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. The market has a lot of competition, or it's too saturated. So again, it's just a call to action to use no code to start building, iterating, and experimenting. And usually when we're making a decision on which no-code tools we should use, you should always be aware that it's going to depend on two things. One is how complex your project is. And because of that, there are many complex no-code tools, because it has very small granular details that you have to be aware of. For instance, I would say Webflow and Bubble. Bubble as a web app creation platform, and Webflow as a website development and design platform are on the complex side. So if you have a complex website that needs a lot of integrations or needs a little bit more of dynamic aspects to it, probably you're going to use it. But that complexity, depending on the complexity of the platform that you're going to use, is going to be driven by the scope or the requirements of your project. So do you have a e-commerce solution? Do you have a legal tech solution? It's a fintech solution? Or depending on the project and depending on the deliverables, requirements, and scope, that is going to dictate in some aspects which no-code tool you should use. Now, that also comes with a lot of training, a lot of learning, experimenting with a bunch of no-code tools that are being launched. It seems like every single day. There are 20, 30 new additional no-code tools that you have to learn, play around with them, and see if they could work. Again, I'm not saying because I'm an expert in the thousands of no-code solutions that are in the market, but at least in order to be aware of what's happening, it's good to be always training or understanding some of the new trends or some of the new platforms that are out there in the space. Because again, these are just few of them. I couldn't go through the thousands or hundreds of no-code tools. I'm gonna go through some of them that we use, but I don't. I know that I have limited time. But again, this is just one glimpse of many no-code tools that we have in this space. So now I'm going back. I just want to show some projects that we have built at A2J Tech. And for those that don't know what A2J Tech is, A2J stands for Access to Justice. In the US, it's an acronym for Access to Justice. And we focus as an agency developing legal tech and justice tech solutions. And many of our projects are focused on using no-code technologies. Why, you might ask? For two different reasons. One, because it helps to preserve budget for the client that is actually, let's say, acquiring our services. We let them know, look, if you do this development from scratch, it's going to be more expensive than if you use a no-code approach. So that one of the components to make that decision, if they decide to go no-code or with a custom developed solution, is budget. How much budget do you have? Do you think you want to break the bank, or do you want to take it slowly right now, create an MVP, show it to prospective investors or users, and based on that, we can make an assessment? And the second reason is because with no code, it allows you a medium and long-term sustainability of the project. What happens, and what I mean by that, is there are certain projects that when they're coded or they have a very technical infrastructure, if you want to make a very basic change, let's imagine I want to change this word on my web app. I don't know, I don't understand how to read code. Sometimes I don't even know where to start. I have to contact either my CTO or someone in my development team to make one small change. With no code, since it's intuitive enough, you can do the change your own. So from a sustainability of a project perspective, if you're not technical, it doesn't matter. You can make changes on your own without relying on a development team or even us as an agency to make that change for you. So those are two factors. There could be others depending on the client, depending on the project. But for instance, one of the projects that we have created, this was a project only using Webflow and Document, is Colorado name change and Wyoming name change. Our platforms in the US to quickly change your name and receive all the legal documents that you need. Again, only two no-code platforms, and we use Stripe as a processing payment mechanism. So again, a solution that is in the market, that we have recurrent users only using two platforms, and if you count Stripe, 3 platforms. Very simple, nothing out of the ordinary, very quickly to to launch. And we have had other projects outside of A2J Tech development that we have helped. We have, for instance, helped legal aids, Figma Rentals, another example. We use Webflow and Document to generate protections against eviction or protections against habitability conditions on apartments in Colorado. So again, we only use two tools without breaking the bank, having a very limited and constrained budget that we needed to help. And as that example, we have helped other legal aids with no-code platforms, developing websites or developing web apps. For instance, Legal Services of Greater Miami was one of the latest ones. In this one, we only use Squarespace. We didn't use Webflow because it was a discussion on, from a sustainability perspective, how comfortable do you feel making these changes? So we have that collaboration with our clients. And that is also a thing that you have to consider when making a decision on the no-code tools. And obviously, Document as one of the no-code tools that we use, at least on the legal tech, is one of the platforms that we use a lot. Why? Because the legal industry relies a lot on document generation. Whether we like it or not, the legal industry relies on a bunch of document creation, drafting, reviewing. But as Document exists as a no-code platform that is not only applicable for legal, you can use Document for other industries that are other, let's say, no-code tools that I know I'm running short on time, but for instance, Tango, this is the one that I mentioned. I invite you all to check it out. Tango US is great because it allows you to create how-to guides or documentation or instructions on how to use platforms or what are the process in your organization. So instead, again, as I post this example of drafting instructions in a Word document, I can only click and automatically is recording everything that I'm doing on my screen, showing the screenshots and everything that I'm doing on my screen with all the instructions, and you can add descriptions and so on. So I invite you to explore that if that's something of interest. But there are, again, many other solutions out there depending on the project that you have. Airtable is one that we use a bunch. We have created conflict checks, content management for websites, automations on reminders of appointments or legal, let's say legal cases. So you can even build case management systems with Airtable. You can, again, creativity, it's one of the biggest friends and allies that you can have. And using no code, it can allow you to explore that side that sometimes we feel constricted, either because we think that we need to be a programmer or we need that technical partner in order to create something and play around with technology. And for instance, Airtable allows you to integrate with website development platforms such as Software. It allows you to create websites. And we created a very small solution that is called A2J Tech Academy that actually shows you a directory of no-code tools that you can actually use to prototype legal tech solutions. And I can share the link after this. But what let's say, to wrap this up, just to be on time, and I always try to be respectful of everyone's time, is what I see is that no-code is gonna, let's say, gonna keep trending up. It's gonna keep being used. It's gonna keep being, let's say, not only funded, but explored more and more and more. When we're gonna reach a moment in which no-code is gonna be a part of everyday software development, and it's gonna be a very integrated ecosystem. So we're not only gonna rely on solutions that are coded or programmed from scratch, but many solutions that we're gonna see in the market are gonna rely on some no-code platforms or solutions. We rely on many of them for many of the projects. Many of our clients rely on them as well. So that's, again, just a call to action to explore no-code. Don't feel constricted or fear that you cannot quickly iterate or create a proof of concept or an MVP of a product or a solution if you don't have the technical background. I never had it. And thanks to no-code, I'm able to do some wonderful things for our clients. So yeah, that's what I have for you today. I know there's some probably questions on the chat, but Brittany, I think I can give you back the word to take it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mauricio. And I know it's so hard to just jam pack all of this information into 20 minutes. I appreciate how much you were able to get through. And I use some of these tools myself. I use software as well. Obviously, Document is something that I use every single day in my profession. We do have about 3 minutes for questions. So I saw that Anne wanted to ask a question. You're welcome to unmute and ask your question to Mauricio if you'd like. If not, that's fine. And the question is whether she wanted to know what are your favorite kind of alternatives to WordPress specifically?
Oh, I would say it depends, but I would say if we want to have something that it gives you a lot of design flexibility and very ease of use and intuitiveness, I would say Squarespace is the one that I suggest. Webflow, even though I like it, I would say it's a bit more on the complex side. For instance, I can be completely transparent. Building my first Webflow site took me around 3 months. Instead on Squarespace, I can build something, I'd say, very robust in a month or less than that. So I would say Webflow has a steeper learning curve at the beginning, gives you more flexibility. But if I have to go with either one, depending on your technical background, I would say Squarespace. Now, Webflow is a more powerful one, but I would say those are the two options. But there are other, let's say, website building platforms that are more modern than what WordPress can provide.
Thank you, Mauricio. Does anyone else have a question? We have probably time for one more. If not, that's fine. What I can do is go into our announcement section. Give me just 1 second.
Oh, I think someone asked about the directory, so I'm sending the link through the chat.
Please
If anyone
do.
wants to
Thank
take a look at it. Sorry, I just sent it to Molly, but I'm sending through the chat the directory that I referenced on my presentation. Again, that's a very simple directory in which you can find legal tech tools. And just as a heads up, this was only built with software and Airtable. Again, it was something that we built in a couple of hours. So it's another example that you can put up things very quickly using very limited tools. So
absolutely. And actually that goes straight into our announcement. So thank you for that. That was perfect. So we wanted to let you know just a few things from the A2J Tech side. As Mauricio just mentioned, they've created a no-code directory, which he's put a link in the chat to, which I've also checked out myself, which is great. Also, they have a series of Udemy courses, and there is even one on Documate, which I've purchased myself and have used, and it's awesome. And I think Laura, who is one of the instructors on there, I think she's here if you want to say a quick hello in the chat. Also, they've just started a YouTube series where they go through different document automation tips, including things like 7 tips on writing questions for workflows. From the Documate side, there's a few feature updates we'd like to let you know about. You now have the ability to transfer workflows to other users in the same domain, which is really exciting, especially if you have different builders who are involved in the same project. There's now new single sign-on and authentication options. You now have more control and security over who can use your workflows and how many times they can use it. On the coming soon side, it's very exciting to announce that coming soon will be repeating items within repeating items, which I think was the top on the wish list, if I'm not incorrect, Dorna, who's here with us as well.
Yes, exactly. It's the number 1 feature request on the wish list. So we're excited to launch it.
I love that. And that's just a reminder that they really do, or that Documate really does take seriously the wish list, which I use a lot myself. And then I would like to welcome our new teammate, John Jelenka, who has been hired as the head of sales. Welcome to the team, John. And then I would also like to announce that I'm the global ambassador to Law Schools for Documate. So if you or someone you know is a program director or professor and you'd like to introduce the students to the world of Documate, we can get them access to free accounts, and I can come and do a workshop or presentation at the school. So please do get in touch if that is applicable to you. Also, a reminder that you can buy and sell and earn money on the marketplace, which is now live. And if you also use the hashtag built on Documate tag on social media, we'll send you some Documate swag. We will be hosting the lightning talks on the last Thursday of each month, except in November, where it will conflict with Thanksgiving. So the next one will be on Thursday, October 27th at the same time, but with a new link. So be sure to register on Eventbrite. Canadian lawyer and legal tech consultant Anja Sarah Lahady will be discussing the topic Agile Practices in Legal Tech, where she will share her hard-won project management tips from tech teams for successful product development. She's actually in London right now, and I'll get to meet her on Saturday. We're going to go museum hopping, which will be super fun. You can register for for that in future lightning talks on our Eventbrite page. So that concludes the main portion of our lightning talk for today. We'll now be transitioning into an optional 5 minutes of speed networking. Feel free to go if you need to, but if you'd like to stay, we'll stop the recording now and move into the speed networking portion. For you, those of you that, yes.
Hey, can I interrupt really quickly for an announcement before we stop recording?
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
The Documate team will be at CleoCon this year. We want to take you guys out to dinner, so please contact us if you're going to be at CleoCon. We have not decided what day yet, so we want to hear from you what your availability is, but you can email us, or I've sent out a Google form to our email list, but you can email me at molly@documate.org, or you can get to us at hello@documate.org.
Amazing.
Right.
Thank you so much, Molly. And Molly, if you want to go ahead and stop the recording, I just want to say thank you everyone who came. And if you'd like to stay on, we're going to have the next